This episode is brought to you by Burchell Wickwire Bryson, a full-service law firm in downtown Halifax, home to some of Nova Scotia's most experienced lawyers. We're taking this opportunity to bring attention to Nova Scotia's Land Titles Initiative. It's a provincially funded program aimed at addressing the province's historic failure to grant valid legal title to African Nova Scotian property owners. The lack of clear title granted to early black settlers in the communities of East Preston, North Preston, Cherrybrook, Sunnyvale, and Lincolnville has made it difficult to sell, transfer, or mortgage these properties, even when they've been in the same family for generations. With the initiative, the provincial government is aiming to provide support and funding to affected community members to help them gain clear title to their land. If you're a property owner in one of the affected African Nova Scotian communities and you have a question about land titles or any other legal issues, please call Burchell Wickwire Bryson at 902-423-6361.
So we're back with another Feature Friday. We got my guy here, Keonté Beals,
What up?
hailing from North Preston. And we got my co-host,
Aaliyah Arab Smith, and my other co-host.
Trevor Silver, a.k.a. Trevor's Life Lessons.
And just wanted to mention before we get into the episode, we just want to give a big shout out to Shift Key Labs for their ongoing collaboration and support.
Shout out to Shift Key Labs.
So yeah, just to get our episode started off, if you've seen Keonté Beals before on the ANS Labs episode, you're not going crazy. This is him again. So it's a pleasure having you, Keonté. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. And we're just going to dive right into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Boom. So tell us about where you're from, maybe a little bit about where you're from, and then dive into like that.
Okay. So what's up, everybody? My name is Keonté Beals. I'm from North Preston. I am a singer-songwriter, author. I am the owner and CEO of my publishing and touring company, KBeals Entertainment.
Great. So maybe usually what we start off with is I ask people, like, tell me about your upbringing.
Oh, upbringing. Okay, so I came from, of course, like I mentioned, North Preston. But I grew up in the house with my great-grandmother. A lot of people don't know this story, actually. But her name was Lillian Smith. She was an entrepreneur. I call her entrepreneur extraordinaire, simply because she was an entrepreneur who believed in doing good for other people. So there was about 9 of us in the house. I was the baby of the family. And it was humble beginnings. Like we did things like we ate rabbit foot stew and we used to cook on the wood stove when the lights went out. So like we did like normal things like that, like normal for country, like really country living.
Up home things.
Yeah, exactly. Off home things. So it was a good time. Like it gave us, I think, the opportunity to experience how people we admire grew up. So like my great grandmother, the things they seen, the things they ate, the lessons they learned, we got to learn those same things. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, you said she's an entrepreneur extraordinaire.
Extraordinaire,
Can you
yeah.
like dive deeper in that?
Yeah, expand on that.
So she sold candies. She made baked goods. She sold quilts, and she made all these things except for the candies. But she sold them. And, you know, I feel like back then people didn't call it entrepreneurship, right? They were just trying to survive. They were just trying to live and provide for their families. So that's why I call her an entrepreneur extraordinaire, because they didn't even claim that title. They did it out of the goodness of their heart to provide for their family. And they also did it and poured into the community too, as they did it. So yeah, she's an entrepreneur extraordinaire to me.
Yeah, because thinking back, like up home, there wasn't really no stores. The only stores were the home stores.
That's right.
So that's like probably where, because you were an entrepreneur yourself.
Yep.
So would you say those are your early beginnings of entrepreneurship?
I would say, yeah, it was really unintentional, but I didn't even realize like how much I actually, I guess, paid attention to some of the things that she did, especially being the younger guy of the crew. But yeah, I would say like that was probably the time where I figured out what it looked like, you know, what it entailed, you know, because we used to do a lot of things to help her to sell some of these things. So we used to be the ones that would go to the market, which is like a full circle moment because I do that today. But the market, we used to help to package some of the things. So yeah, I feel like earlier on I got a good kind of overall perspective of what it is to be an entrepreneur without intentionally trying to do that. You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that was someone that you like looked up to and someone that you seen yourself in, and also being the youngest of the household, other people in your family that you may have looked up to?
Yeah, I would say she was number one for me, for sure. She was probably the most special person to me in my life. And she's been really, really impactful, like about some of my choices, some of the things that, the way that I choose to carry myself too. You know, she was somebody who really wanted to leave value behind and to pour into other people. And so for me, I think at a really, really young age, that was something that was like a commitment, almost like a promise that I made to myself that I would carry her legacy. So yeah, she's done a lot for me.
Love it.
So she's no longer here with us.
She's no longer here.
God
No.
rest her soul.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So my question would be, or like, to dive deeper in, like, maybe did she help you with like decision making? Did she help you with like some of your journey? You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm getting from it. She was like your guiding light, and she
Yeah.
probably still is.
Unintentionally, right? Because she was gone before, she was my great grandmother, right? So she was gone by like grade 6 before I even started to really, really pursue some of these things. So she was a guiding light for me, but more so spiritually, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
You seem like you really hold those memories near and dear.
I do.
What are some of like the core memories that you can remember of your great grandmother?
I can remember her teaching us stuff. Like it's more so like away from, I guess, the business and entrepreneurship. I can remember her teaching us like simple things like how to sew and teaching us how to make apple stew and stuff like that. And we would actually go out on the apple tree. We would climb it in the yard and we would pick apples and then we would come in the house, cut them up. She taught us how to wash them, how to clean them, and then how to bake them and make, goodies from them. So she taught us small things like that, but that's why I feel like it's like really, really a unique experience to have. I don't feel like a lot of people have those types of experiences unless you're like in the country. And it's part of my upbringing. It's something that I would never forget. I'll never forget. Never forget.
Have you had like opportunities to like share those valuable experiences and carry on those traditions that you've done with your great grandmother?
Yeah, so I do a lot of children's books tours in the schools, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about that anyway.
We're talking about it now. Carry on. Keep it flowing.
And I carry her with me. I tell her story on the road. So I talk about her being an entrepreneur extraordinaire, and I talk about the things that she's done, how she's influenced me unintentionally, and how she's been like the rock, of course, of the family. Even now today with her being gone, we still look to her for guidance in this way, and we carry her values. So yeah, I tell her story all the time. And back then we didn't even think about it being entrepreneurship or her being a businesswoman. Like nobody even really recognized that that's what it was she was doing until I did something with like one of the media places, and we talked about that and I covered her and it was like, wow, she was an entrepreneur. Yeah.
You were saying that you had 9 people in the house growing up.
Yeah, I did.
Was that including like your parents, or like tell me about like the folks in there that may have inspired you as well?
So it was, of course, my great grandmother Lillian. It was one of my cousins. It was my aunt and her 3 kids, and then it was my mom and dad and me. And growing up, I never had like my own room or anything like that. I always shared it with my cousins. At first, I was sharing it with my mom and dad.
Yeah, I know how that be.
Yeah, and I was just with my mom and dad, the 3 of us in a bed, crazy, small little bed. And then I moved into the room next door, and it was me and my 3 cousins. One of my cousins slept on the floor. That was his permanent bed, a blanket, a pillow. He was the oldest, so he had to get down there.
Getting the floor, your boy.
He had to get down there because I wasn't. But yeah, so like I guess like just kind of coming from spaces like that, like it does something different for you. Like you appreciate things more. Yeah.
100%.
No, definitely. And I know you mentioned the book tours, and something that I know when you made your first book, I believe it was with your younger brother.
Yes.
Is that correct? So yeah, having that relationship with older people in the house around you, inspiring and being there for you. But how is that process like for you making that book with your younger brother and inspiring him?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was something that we didn't really mean to happen, but I'm an older brother. So like I have 2 younger brothers. So for me, I've always been someone to say like, okay, get up, let's do something. Y'all can contribute to like some of the things that I'm doing too. And you get to learn. You get to be exposed to new things, exposed to new people, learn how to have conversations with people all across the world. So that was a conversation that we had, and I'm like, how about you work on this project with me? And you don't have to have the pressure of writing or illustrating or doing that type of thing, but how about you be a part of the ideas and the planning? And he said, yeah, like I'll do it. And so I picked his brain a lot about what he would love to do, like, so playing on the park, being on the school bus. He went to Nelson Winder. Nelson Winder is in North Preston, so there's no school bus for the kids, but this is a dream of his to be on a school bus and things of that nature. So everything inside of the books are all real stories. The characters are real. The details inside of the books are all real. So yeah, it's been a experience, and it kind of like started a whole movement for me, something that I never thought I would do at this age. Yeah.
So maybe touch on like your very first book. Talk about how that like came about.
Sure.
And then I have another kind of question with your little brother and how you seen him, like what did you see flourish in him from him working with you?
Yeah. So the first question is the book.
Yeah,
I
your
guess.
very first book. How'd that come about?
Yeah. So I can remember going to Truro. So music, obviously, most people, if they know who I am, music has been the thing since forever. But we were on our way to Truro. It was me and my manager, Tamar Brown. Shout out to you. And she's not my manager anymore, but she was then at the time. And we were on our way to Truro. We were in the car, and she was like, Key, have you ever thought about releasing like some of the books that you write? Because I've always written children's books since I was like 6, 7 years old. And I was like, I've thought about it, but I didn't really look into the logistics of what goes into it. And she was like, you should do it. So that was 2018. And I went back home and I thought about it over and over. I started to brainstorm. And then we started to create the characters first. And I remember seeing like the characters, and they were all different. That was unintentional. I didn't mean to do that. But much like y'all, I'm sure you can relate. We were raised to love everybody. And when I thought about creating a book, unintentionally, I wanted to include everybody. And so when we were looking for the title, I'm like, well, I am me. I would love to do that, but there was always somebody with that book title, so we're like, okay, whatever. But then I was like, how about I am perfectly me? Because perfection doesn't really necessarily mean perfect. It doesn't exist, especially in the human race. So it's like, I am already perfectly supposed to be who I am today. That's all the imperfections, that's all the things that are crazy, that people would label as crazy about me, that are actually beautiful and make me unique. So that was kind of like the gist of what we wanted to cover and to include everybody in it. And it kind of naturally just happened in that way. Now, as far as Antonio and what he got from it, right? Because that was the next question.
Good question.
On point.
What he got from it, I feel like my intention is actually what he ended up being able to experience. So my intention was to show him what it looks like to brainstorm and think of a project, to actually put the work in to create it, to then plan how you're going to release it, and then reap the benefits of it. Every stage of any product, any creative entity in general. So he got to experience like every single step. Now, his favorite part of it, the money, of course.
What percent do you get? What percent?
What is it, 50-50?
Yeah. 30-70?
Yeah, you don't got to disclose that.
No, of course.
My thing is like, it's cool that you went and did your own thing. You created, you built the confidence, and you executed, and then you brought your little brother and showed him the way as well. And I feel like that's gonna speak volumes for his career later on in life. How old is he now?
He is 13 now.
Wow.
Yeah,
He thinks he's grown now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He was 8 though. He was 8 at the time when he helped me to do it.
That's a really
Wow.
big confidence builder in a youth, and like that's I commend you for that.
100%. I noticed that you mentioned like unintentional a couple of times, and like just embracing unintentionality. I don't know if that's a word, but we're gonna use it. Like, how do you navigate that? How do you do that? How do you embrace things that were not expected?
Yeah, I love that question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question before. I feel like things kind of happen the way they're supposed to. I feel like if you believe, right, and you lead with faith and you work hard, things always work out the way they're supposed to. And even though I'm calling it in ways unintentionality. I'm gonna use your word.
All right.
Even though I'm calling it that, everything is intentional. It happens the way it's supposed to. But when I say unintentional, I mean the thought wasn't there, right? But things kind of maneuvered in that way. And I think it all just stems from faith, like believing in yourself. A lot of the times, like I talk about logical thinking and then like faith-based thinking, because they're two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like almost, especially now, that you need both, for sure,
So true.
right? You need both. But logical is almost more sustainable, right? Because there's a logical reason for everything. How you break down a project, the release, the date, how you build the picture and the story in people's minds. It matters. So when it comes to unintentional thinking and doing, I feel like a lot of it has to do with the faith part of it, the faith-based thinking. And you just move and you flow and you get to where you're supposed to go.
I agree with that as well,
Yeah.
because I feel like I operate the same way, where I feel like there's already a plan, there's alignment. So sometimes when things don't go as we had planned, there's a bigger plan out there for you. So yeah, that's something that
Always.
really has helped me navigate a lot of different parts of life. So if you don't already think that way, get into your faith and think about that, because it really changes your outlook on opportunities that you get, how you navigate those, how you can bounce back from something.
Yeah, can I add on that too?
Yeah.
I think that connecting to your faith is also connecting to just yourself, your
100%.
being, right? Because faith doesn't necessarily need to be a religious thing, right? I don't feel like, at least, I feel like it's okay for people to believe whatever they believe.
Yeah.
But the real faith comes from the faith in yourself
Yeah.
in general, beyond religion. It's connecting to who you are, knowing that, right? And then accepting the things and the parts of you that will change,
Yeah.
because it will change over time, right? You got to have faith that you're going to change in a direction that's going to be beneficial for you. So, yeah, that's what I feel like.
Faith within yourself.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. That's so true.
Just
because-
connecting to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find like from knowing you, from like a distance and close up, I feel like you walk with what is it? Not I don't want to say intention, but it's on that same aspect. But it's like you're your full self, and I
Yeah.
find like
True.
from knowing you and seeing you, it's like the confidence obviously rises with the success, but it's like you've always been your true self, and you've been expressing that, and I feel like that's what allows you to do what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it comes to music, books, whatever it is that you create, you put your whole self into it, and that allows you. Do you find, like, from what I'm saying, is
Yeah. And I think, because it wasn't always that way, right? It wasn't always that way. Like, I feel like a lot of the growth, a lot of the confidence too, I feel like that I might experience, I call it experience now, it comes from faith in your purpose, right? Like it comes from knowing, okay, this is my purpose, like, and everything about you is driven towards your purpose. So like the way you look, the way you greet people, the humbleness about you, if you have that, the outrightness, for you to be bold and to say X, Y, and Z. All those things are part of your purpose, like your whole personality, everything.
Yeah.
So like, why wouldn't you have confidence in that? But it takes time though, right? It takes time to recognize that, number one. And then number two, to have faith that is supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. So you got to just keep going, right?
Yes,
Keep
100%,
going,
like
keep
even-
growing.
I
Yeah.
remember when me and you connected like a long, long time ago, and I think we were
Yeah.
exchanging. You were giving me your CD, I might have been giving you some clothes, but we were connecting about
CD is telling.
The timeline.
Ain't that
But you remember them times?
I do remember.
And it's like we're coming from the community, and we're here, and we got to push each other.
Yeah.
Even though we're in different industries, we're doing different things. We got to push each other, because as
Yeah.
long as you're continuing to push and I'm continuing to push, that's us guiding each other and saying like, as long as you're gonna keep going, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
And look at us now. Like looking back, it's like we in the car chatting that time. It's like, who would have thought that where we gonna be where we at
Yep.
today?
Yep.
But let's get to the music. Let's get
Okay.
to the music, the beginning of music, because that's when I first started connecting with you and where we built rapport. It's like touch in on the music, maybe what inspired you, and yeah, let's go in there.
Oh my God. The music and the inspiration. Oh man. I would say, of course, like I'm a church boy. I feel like people know that. Or You know, I grew up in the church.
Let them
also.
know that because they might not know that.
You better go
Like,
watch the
'cause
other
you-
episode because
No, but you were talking about a lot of faith just now.
Yeah.
And you didn't touch
Yeah.
on faith. You said it might not be religious faith, but let's
yes.
you touch on that now. Let's hear it.
Yeah, so I grew up in the church. I'll put it that way.
yeah.
Grew up in the church, and so a lot of my inspiration came from there. I can remember hearing Miss Novelty Buchan, for anybody who is familiar with her.
God rest her soul.
God rest her soul. I heard her singing. She was singing a song in the church, and I can remember her being able to evoke like so much emotion out of the congregation. And I sat there and I was thinking at a very, very young age, I wonder if I could do that myself. I wonder if I could move people in this way with a gift and a talent, not even knowing that at the time I could sing. And so I can remember like later on, right, like kind of building and cultivating that, I guess, love for music without even knowing like that I would sing or could sing. And I can remember doing a video with one of my family members, and she was the only one who knew I could sing, and we actually uploaded it to Facebook, and people were giving their reviews, and the reviews were good, you know? They were good. And I'm like, okay. Right off rip, they were good. You know, I know that I needed some work, but they were good.
Because I feel like Keonté saying it was like a hold back of something else. So they were good.
Because, you know, like I just, they were good, right? Like they were encouraging, but
good,
like looking back now, I'm like, they were encouraging. Like I was growing. It was real nasally. It wasn't good. But yeah, so then like I uploaded some more of it and people like really enjoyed it. And I took singing lessons for like 4 months. That was it. And
right after the Facebook post, it was like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I begged my parents to do that. They were like, oh, this is a phase. He'll get over it type thing. So many people go through that in the community. And I didn't go through that little phase. It became my life. And yeah, I guess I'm here now.
So the stage, so like you went through the stage, you went through the classes, and then what was the catalyst, or what did you latch on to be like, this is what I'm going to do for my career?
Yeah, I sang at 16 years old, my first solo, because I've sang like with groups and stuff like that, like maybe had a little duet or something. But I sang my first solo by myself at 16, and I can remember closing my eyes, and when I opened them after everyone was up, the church was in a vibe, and I can remember thinking back to when I thought if I could ever do something like that, and I did it.
Oh wow! And
What was going through your mind when you went up there at 16 doing your first solo? Like
I was scared
when
to
you
death.
closed your eyes, like what were you thinking?
Scared to death.
Was your eyes closed the whole time?
Oh, it was closed the whole time.
Like closed
I don't
out of
remember.
like, I'm just here and I want to do this, and
I'm just don't even know. I'm just scared of everything that's going on right now. Why am I even standing up here? Lord, do you hear me? Lord, do you hear me up here? Yeah, it was a lot going on in my head. I think I probably was like sweating and stuff, like real nervous and stuff. But something just took over me, and I just did what I had to do, and it kind of built from there. And I can remember releasing "I'm Here" from The Color Purple, and I did the video. Kiki, because me and Rena used to perform it around. She would come and she would play with me.
What age was this?
Like 16, 17.
Okay.
So that was the same.
Back when Kiki was just getting on
That's
the beat.
right. That's right. And so I was like, I've been performing this around. People have been enjoying it. I feel like it connects to me. And I took it. I was like, Rena, can you create the soundtrack for it, the music? She was like, yeah. So she did that. I recorded it at her place. She mixed and mastered it-ish. She did what she could do.
Yeah.
And yeah, we released it. We filmed a video for it. I saved up. I was working as a peer tutor at the time.
Nice.
And I saved up my money and I paid Kiki to shoot the video. And it was just in the backyard. And yeah, that video changed everything. Festival started reaching out like immediately. It's like you go from the church to festivals, like almost immediately. Yeah.
And you and Rena were locked in back then.
Yeah.
And then continuously locked in. Maybe touch on your relationship with Rena and what she's been able to do, and also maybe how that's pushed you guys together to like continue to rise.
yeah, I remember hearing Rini for the first time because we're cousins, so we've been around each other. But I can remember hearing her for the first time, and it was at the hall, the rec center in North Preston, and she was playing the keys, and she had closed out the event. I forget. I would think I was in like a hip hop dance group at the time we were performing, and she closed out the event and she sang "Dream," and I was like, yeah, she's a big inspiration for me right from there. Like she was a huge inspiration for me. And once I started to get into music and stuff, that drew our relationship closer. And a lot of people probably don't even know that, but she was like really like influential for me in the beginning. Like the things that she did for me, I could probably never really repay her back for those things. Like, and she just did them because she admired like the gifts that I had and the love that I had for music in general. And she would let me record at the studio. Like she had a good time though doing that. That was when she was new to working the equipment, so she had a good time having somebody else there who had the same love. And I recorded my whole EP there. She taught me some of the basics of piano. Like she was the one to start me off.
Wow, shout out Rini Smith.
Yeah,
big shout
yeah.
out.
And she would come like with me to performances, like, and just play the keys for me, like at no charge. She would just come and just do it, just because she would also like when I was first started doing global and other media places. She would I'd be like, "Can I use your piano?" I didn't have any money to afford one, and I didn't have one, and she was just like, "Yeah, come get it." Like this $3,000 piano. She just like, "Yep." And I get there, she hands it through the door. She's like, "Just bring it back when you finish." I'm like, "What?"
That's real.
Yeah,
That's real.
yeah.
So far you touched on Lillian and Rini being some of your inspiration.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about what other things may have inspired your journey so far.
I would say, okay, moving more so to the artistic, visually. I don't think I ever said this before either, but visual arts used to be a real love of mine in junior high. Like, that's what I wanted I wanted to pursue that as well. It was like music and visual arts, just art overall. And Miss Kim Kane, she was a big mentor for me at that time she taught me about like different textures of paint, different paintbrushes. Of course, we were in art class, but she saw that I really, really enjoyed it. And when I was in grade 9, I was in the yearbook as the the most talented visual artist in the school. Myself and my friend Morgan, I can't leave her because she was way better than me.
Shout out Morgan.
Yeah. But yeah, so I would say like when I look at like, that's what I was talking about, like things happening unintentionally. Cause like even that, like who knew that that would have came full circle and I would have illustrated children's books and used like all those different techniques and things that I learned way back then today. Who would have known that? Like who would have known it would have came full circle like that? Like I was doing music and pursuing that so heavily, and I didn't see that. But those moments were obviously intentional to happen for me to really dive deeper into visual arts and to learn some of those things and to use them today. It's crazy.
So it sounds as though a lot of the stuff you learned from your adolescence and growing up, you utilize that in your career, in your life and success today.
Yeah, I would say that mixed with my own stories, personal stories, everything I've ever written about, everything I've ever drawn, all of them are real.
It's definitely full circle too, like just in general, because thinking like when you were younger, you did writing and stuff as well first, right? And then you went to music, and then you did some visual arts as well. And then now when you even think of like the cadence of like your books that you make, they have kind of like a poetry to them, I think, from what I've heard about that. So it's very cool to see it all mesh together and everything come into place.
It's like that ecosystem of a creative, of an artist, like a musician, visual creative, all those types of things. Then do you find, like, to touch back on with your little brother, do you pour that stuff into him, or what's he into? Is he into music and visual arts?
He's into all of those things, but not necessarily pursuing them as a career. He is more so figuring it out, I'll say. He's figuring it out, like, it's okay. Like, he has the time. I mean, he's literally only 13. He has the time to figure out, like, what he actually wants to fully pursue. But, like, he's appreciative. of those experiences.
And do you find like as an older brother, it's your responsibility to help guide him in the right direction as like a mentor and as an older brother?
Yeah, I'm laughing because that was a big topic in the host at the time. I used to be because like we can be a little bit different, and not even just him, but like also the middle brother too. And we're different. Like they are. I think it may be a generational thing because they're very much so like, I'm just going to wait, chill back. Yeah. It'll come to me. I'm just going to. And like my upbringing is like, no, I'm going to create this. I'm going to make this happen for myself.
As doers got to do. If you don't do, then you feel like you're not doing anything. You need to execute. You need to do. And I think that's what separates people that are making things happen versus people that are just letting whatever happens happen. Like you unintentionally are doing things, but you're still out there executing and making things, creating and doing. Outside of that, I find it's hard to actually, you're basically going to just take the job that anyone gives you versus you creating the job or you creating the opportunity. Like think about the music and the books that you've created. Yeah. You've literally created them from your life, but like, it's like, I look at it like same with when I'm creating clothing. We creating something out of nothing. It's what it's in our mind, but like we execute and we make it real. Yep. If we gave up, like say for example, if you gave up singing early on, or if I gave up creating and designing early on, then we wouldn't be where we're at today. That's right. You know what I mean? And then thinking about like we wouldn't be in front of Aaliyah having this conversation. Either one of us. Like say you would have gave up or I would have gave up. But that's the thing about keeping going. Is we don't even know who we're inspiring along the journey. Like there's younger people or there's older people that are looking at us and saying, man, they're doing their thing. Like I want to do that one day, or I want to do exactly what I want to do. And they're inspiring me because they're executing on what they want to do.
Yeah. Well, the most powerful thing to me that you can have is number one, self-love. It's the most important thing you could ever have. But then number two is a vision, right? And when we think even, we're going to go biblically, even though I'm not.
Man trying to act like he's not a church guy.
No, listen, I got the faith and all that stuff. I just don't agree with some of the things. But write down the vision and make it plain, right? So you don't just have the vision, but then you make the plan of how to get there. And that's the difference, right? I feel like the new generation have the vision. They just won't make the plan to get there. And I'm not saying all of them, but here's my thing too. Like when it comes to that stuff, I'm only going to do so much before I'm like, all right, shawty.
Do your thing, player.
Do your thing. And so like when it comes to the siblings, right, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself because because I just wanted them to be successful. Like that was the main thing. I just wanted them to grow and to be successful.
Amen, brother. That's same for me, bro. I'd be putting a lot of pressure on myself because I want them to see me grinding so that they can be like, this is what you're supposed to do. Because how else is it gonna happen if we don't make it happen?
Yeah. So, but I've like let go of that because all you can do is literally what you can do and hope that the people around you kind of catch those drippings and stuff. Just the same way I catch them from the people around me who are doing it,
100%. For real. You touched on self-love. When did you like understand like the concept of self-love, and looking back, like where did the self-love that you have for yourself come about, and like how do you continuously cultivate that?
Yeah. I think it was something that was always a fight my whole life. Something that that we all do, I think, but I'm going to speak personally on me. I think it's something that you wrestle with over the span of your life, for the rest of your life, because you're always changing, evolving, growing. But I think my official journey on all of that started in 2022, which is not that long ago. But that was the time where I said, all right, we're gonna dig a little bit deeper into some of the, I'm gonna say the nooks and crannies of it, right? Because we touch base on the surface stuff all the time. It's easier to look in the mirror and say, okay, I love this flaw, this imperfection. But when it comes to inner child work, that's a different beast, right? Because there are things that you needed as a child that you may not have received, that you think that you need as an adult, but you don't. A lot of that has to do with like self-love, because you give it to yourself, right? You can provide those things for yourself as an adult. You don't need to, you don't need anybody to fill those voids. So when it comes to like self-love and that journey, I would say, like, I'm not giving advice. I don't really like to give advice, but I would say, like, I guess in my experience, dealing with the inner child is a place to start. Yeah, because there are a lot of things that a lot of us, you know, didn't get when we were younger, and I think it's a natural thing. I actually think it happens. You can't get it all in that way, but I think it needs to be addressed, number one, and then number two, you got to be the one to learn how to give those things to yourself. So, yeah, I grew up always feeling like I was chosen second. I don't think I've spoken about this before either, but I've always felt like I was being chosen second. When it came to my feelings, they were always second after somebody had to address someone else's feelings. When it came to a lot of the different things like that I experienced, I was always second. But I also comfortably sat there too. I was okay with that, right? Because when I was younger, I was a little bit shyer, and I was cool with just being in a room and not being seen. So when that happened, I wasn't surprised. But as I got older, you know, like I started to notice the effects of that. And in a lot of ways, I didn't choose myself first either. So like a lot of the differences or the love that I feel now comes from choosing myself first. Like you don't need anybody to choose you first, right? And that's with everything. You choose yourself, right? And that's a journey though. Like you gotta say something like that and stand on it. Stand on business, right? And mean it though. And mean that. Because it's it's way more than meets the eye.
That was powerful.
Yeah, 100%. So like touching on like giving yourself the self-love, like where do you find that came from for you? Like when you realized or when you actually started to execute on the, you know what I mean?
Burnout. 2021 was a really successful year for me with music. I released King, the album, in 2020. Produced that one and did the whole thing, and it became a big thing for whoever knows it. And touring heavily, I launched my company too that same year in 2020, and we had partnerships with CBC Radio and Halifax Public Libraries, and we were doing so much. We were dropping merch that was doing really good, and then we did the children's book, doing a lot of things is what I'm trying to say. And I didn't really notice how deep I was kind of digging like the well for burnout. I didn't even know what that was, or I didn't know it was a thing. I was always taught to just keep going. So I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Go get it done. Oh, do what you got to do. And so I would do that. At the end of the year, I could feel something changing. So I got into 2022 and had everything. Right after King was finished, I produced the album. It hasn't released yet. I almost said the name.
You almost slipped it out.
You almost heard it here
You almost
first.
got some exclusive stuff. What was it? What was that word again?
And so, I produced that album right after King, and then I went right into the system. So I was supposed to have a big tour. This was Canada-wide at the time, and I was releasing another book. So many different things was going on. I canceled all of it. Oh yeah, every single piece of it.
So does that go back to choosing yourself?
That's right.
Yeah, priority.
That was the first time I said, yo, I'm not okay. I was in a horrible place mentally, like terrible. And I'm like, if I go and do this stuff, I don't know what's gonna happen to me after that. That's how bad I was. And I canceled everything. I told the team. It was a lot of pressure because I had a team, right? It wasn't just me. So it's like so many other people that now I'm letting down, right? For myself. I don't regret it. I'm like, no tour, there's no book, there's no album. All the media stuff y'all got plans, that's gone. All the concerts, the side of the tour alone, gone everything. And I said, this is the year I'm going to focus on myself. And I did exactly that, for real. Financially, it was a struggle. Obviously, I took everything off the table. I had to deal with that. And I did. But yeah, it really started there for me. 2022 was probably the hardest year of my life. And it was just because I was wrestling with choosing myself and then still in some ways trying to fight to keep what I've always known.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like, how did you find the courage, even advice for myself as well, like to set those boundaries and to put yourself first? Because it's not an easy thing sometimes
Yeah.
to do. I've been in situations as well, which I relate a lot to, and having to set those boundaries. Like burnout is a big thing that I did experience as well. So like, how do you navigate that and make sure and ensure and reassure yourself that you've made the right choice for yourself?
I would say the biggest thing is to be patient, like
Mhm.
with yourself in that process, because you're gonna have the back and forth. Like it is gonna happen. It ain't even if it is gonna happen. I think it's being patient with yourself and your journey, because you're learning, right? So you're making mistakes. You know, you're choosing choices that you thought were better for you. You know, in that time, I was choosing choices like, okay, I think I can do this engagement or whatever the case may be. It feels like it's gonna be good for me because I'm gonna have money to pay for whatever I need to pay for. But I didn't have the energy, so now I'm showing up and I'm not even fully Keonté, right? I'm still dealing with some of those things in my mind and my head. The confidence isn't there, and I would feel exactly that, and it would turn out just how I felt. Always, I mean, every time. So I got better and better at choosing to have patience with myself as I learned to navigate the new space that I was in and making the decision to not show up when I couldn't. Because you couldn't. Like, what are you gonna do? You're showing up and you're not even fully there.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not present, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been in spaces with you, and you've been fully present, and it shows. Like, you know what I mean? Like when I see you in places, it's like a star, a bright light in the space that everybody can feel it. You know, and I enjoy being in spaces with you when you come and you present and you.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? It's trust me, like it's just to see how far you've came and to see where you're going. Like I think later on we want to touch on like where do you want it, like where do you see everything going? But like for now, let's touch on because you say you had no regrets taking that time. So clearly it was a good thing for you.
Yeah.
And touch on like maybe coming out of that, like. Was it like rising like a phoenix? Because like I mean, after you took that year or whatever to yourself, I seen you come out, you know what I mean? You fireworks.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely don't regret that. That year, it did so much for me, even right now. That's crazy. I just remember so many things. It's crazy. But as far as like getting myself back after coming out of that space, because it got real dark, real dark. I feel like resilience is a thing. I'm gonna say it like, especially in the Black community, it's a thing. It's a real thing. Because like when you take all these people who've been faced with some of the things that the Black community has been faced with, and I'm just gonna speak for my Scotians, my African Nova Scotians alone. It's like, like for y'all to even still be, like for us to even still be here, like making footsteps and footprints for the next generation is incredible. You got to have like a certain amount of armor and strength to even be able to say, I'm still going to keep going. So for me, I felt like at that time, it wasn't just me. Like I was, when I go anywhere now, even in this space right here, right now, I take everybody with me. Like I take my grandmother with me, right? I'm never alone. I'm always with the ancestors, all the people, they're all surrounding me. I heard Maya Angelou say that one time, and she was like, when I go and I do an engagement, I don't do that alone. So people are like, okay, yeah, she's up there alone. She's doing her thing. I don't do that alone. You know, you don't need to do it alone. You know, you had your grandmother, you had this person or that person that you can bring with you. That's your strength. That's your courage. So for me in that time, that's what it was. I was bringing the people with me. I was gathering them. Like, I need your energy. I need this. And it did build me up. And it took me to a place where I felt like I could continue on to move. When I got to that place, 2023, I had had a conversation prior to that in 2022, and I could feel things shifting. Like, again, the faith and the spirituality part of it is I had a conversation with God, and I felt him saying to me, or God saying to me, that it's time for a shift. You're about to move in a way that you didn't expect to. I need you to trust me, though. And I was like, so you're telling me I got to let go of everything that you've literally built me up to right now, and I'm supposed to just trust that this is okay. Yeah, just trust me. I fought against that so bad. I'm like, yeah, all right, brother, okay. I'm like, yeah, all right. And I tried, and of course, it didn't work. One day, I could remember being in my floor, and I was on my knees, and I started crying. All right, and I just looked up, and I said, listen, I will do exactly what you're telling me to do. I will move as you lead and guide me to do. I will leave everything that I've known, but you have to make a promise to me to never leave me in it. I'm like, if I don't see, if I don't feel you, that's it for me. I'm not moving forward. And I feel like we made that deal, and he's never left. Every opportunity, every door, every change went according to what he said. And he said, I'm gonna make it all work in your favor. You're not leaving anything behind. You had all these things to be in this moment right now. You're not leaving all that stuff behind. And I didn't. Like, to watch it all today, like I had the conversation with my mom and my dad, because they were there, and I was crying to them, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm supposed to leave all this behind. I'm like, he told me that I'm supposed to trust, though. To see it all come full circle and all of it to be included right now, it like blows my mind, but at the same time it doesn't, because it was supposed to be what it is right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's the difference between like the logical and the faith thinking. Like, you do have to have both, because the logical part of it, none of that to me was logical. It didn't make any sense. It's like, what is going on? But the faith, right, thinking of it, it's like, I just got to trust you. And then watch the logical steps come into place. And when I tell you it did, like every single door, like right now what we're doing is we're expanding internationally. So like the tour is moving into Thailand, Dubai. We have books and things of that nature that's being translated. I don't want to put them out there, but we have copies of them in Braille, and we're translating one of them into Arabic right now. Of course, we have French versions. And we're working with people all across the world. It's like this message of self-love and the simplicity of how we tell it in these stories is touching people all across the globe. Like, it's something that relates to every single person in this world. And to have an impact like that, the confidence that I wear today doesn't have anything to do with me specifically, but it has all to do with the fact that I trusted God saying, just trust me. Just trust me.
That's so dope. That's such a testament to faith and like believing and having that guide. Like what all you just said was so powerful. Like it's like, just believe. You know what I mean? Have faith and find something to believe in. Tap into, if you're not religious, tap into something to believe in, because that's gonna be the guiding light. You know what I mean? Lillian is gonna be God. It's gonna be, you know what I mean? Having that deal with God, like. Those are things that are important for people to tap into, because that's what pushes you. So for you, when it comes to, I know you say you don't like to give advice, but for anybody that might have been going through what you've been going through, like where you're like bordering like burnout and stuff like that, and how, like, what advice would you give someone if they were in the same situation that you were describing?
Yeah.
In retrospect.
Because that advice part, right? I would say it just goes back to, my advice would be to trust yourself first. That would be my advice. To trust yourself, to know that you can handle any situation that you're put into anyway. So it's like, okay, you're having a financial issue, like, trust yourself. Like, it's gonna happen. You're gonna make it happen, right? And also to, like, in any case, like, even walking in this room and being with y'all, like, you have to have a sense of trust in yourself in general for everything, right? Like, trust that I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna show up, and I'm going to hopefully, like, the trust is to hopefully leave somebody with value. That's the only reason I'm doing all of this. I'm sure that's the only reason y'all are doing it too. So it just goes back to that, trusting yourself. Like when you're, and it's hard. I'm saying it real easy, but every day I struggle with that too, right? It's a never ending one. So,
I mean, I think about it all the time. Trust is the number one principle for Trev. So it's like trusting yourself. and that trusting yourself builds the confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
Trusting others, it does the same. You know what I mean? Like when you're around peers that you can trust, like think about when you're talking about Rini, like you know that you can trust Rini.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When you call on Rini, she shows up, and that's how you build trust. When you trust yourself because you show up for yourself. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can't show up for yourself because either you ain't got the energy, you ain't got the time, or you ain't got the mental capacity. But it's important to recognize so that you can trust yourself. So you know, people lie to themselves all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
when they lie to other people, or they say, "Oh, I'm not going to do this again," but then they do it again, or they say they're going to go to the gym and then they don't go to the gym. All these different things that it beats your trust up, because then you can't trust yourself when you say stuff to yourself. You know, so trust is to me it is the number one in anything. Trust in God, trust in yourself, trust in the community, trust in the people. And you know who I don't trust? You know who I don't trust?
Who you don't trust?
People that don't trust no one. Because they're the ones that you can't trust.
You know
If they don't trust no one else, that means they usually don't be trusting themselves. And you can't trust someone that don't trust themselves.
True.
Yeah, because you can handle everything that's thrown at you. Like even people that have the little sticky, things to say. People ain't that nice and whatever the case may be. You can trust yourself to handle that situation in a way that's going to be best for you. And that could mean walking away.
Yeah.
That could mean saying, all right, I see it. I see what's happening. I understand the energy. And that's cool. I ain't got no problem, but I'm definitely okay with just, over there.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like this is such like a outlandish question, but it's because we did talk about it like just a couple minutes ago. But your company and your organization or business, I'm not good with the terminology, but it's expanding. You said to like Thailand and Dubai, and it's really growing. So maybe even speaking to like where that started, how that started, and where it is now and the growth there.
Yeah, I would say like the vision, everything. Honestly, everything that's happening right now, I saw. Honestly, I think I saw it as a kid. I seen where I am right now. So like as far as again having the vision and then putting the plan, right, making it plain. I think I have a lot to give thanks for. Like as far as the team and the people who are around me, they do an incredible job too. We've been growing as far as the team goes. There's about 7 of us now, including myself. And it's growing. We're hiring some more folks. But you can't do this stuff alone, right? You can't do any of it alone. So like when it comes to building your empire or, building a movement, a mission, whatever it is, make sure to include people, right? Include other people, other thoughts, other stories. I was having a conversation the other day, and this might be a little bit off of your question there, but I'm going to say it anyway because I just feel like it's a good little point to make, is to me, when we talk about bringing people together and things, because this is the biggest goal of mine, doing all this, is bringing the communities together, the black, the white, the Asian, the Hispanic, whatever it is, everybody coming together. There's diversity and inclusion, and the hope is that it will no longer be a conversation, but for the next generation, it'll be their reality. But I feel like when it comes to diversity and inclusion, it's just about storytelling. And of course, I could be biased because I'm a storyteller. But to me, I feel like it's all about storytelling, about people sharing their stories and experiences, but people having a listening ear for it. Because you can talk all you want, right? You got to listen too. And not take it personal, right? Because it has nothing to do with you. Even if you're talking about a group of people or your experience with them, it's your experience, right? You are allowed to have that experience, right? And diversity and inclusion, to me, is about sharing your experience, your story, having people listen, and then listening to other people's story. That's where you find compassion, right? That's where two ends meet, and that's where you can find a solution that comes from the heart instead of saying we just want to press down or eliminate the noise.
Yeah, because a lot of people are in echo chambers where they just focus on their people or the people that they know, and then they're not getting out there where, like, say, for example, if I'm white, connect with some black folks, connect with some Indian folks, or connect with, if I am me, connect with some Asian folks, connect with some different folks so that I can learn their experience, I can understand, and I can have some compassion for their upbringing, for what they've been through, for their values, for their systems, for the way that they look at the world. And what that allows is diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
Because then you understand them, then you can include them versus being like, oh, they're different than me, or they, you know what I mean? It's just being able to like come together, like you were saying. I think is super important.
And that's why too, when I brought it up and I say church boy and things of that nature, that's why I do this type of thing, is because I don't care, I'll say it, because I feel like the way we grow too is through uncomfortable conversation. And I feel like when it comes to the church, sometimes they forget about diverse backgrounds where people are in different situations, right? And again, nobody is perfect, so people make mistakes, or people are in lifestyles that we don't necessarily. People are in drugs, people are having kids out of wedlock, people are cheating, people are whatever, all these different things. And instead of having compassion for the story of what led somebody there, or them wanting, to have healing from a mistake that they made, that's where I don't agree with certain things.
The
right?
judgment.
The
Yeah, I agree
judgmental
too.
piece of it is not. I'm not a fan of that stuff, because for me, I'm not saying for anybody to just throw themselves into a life because somebody's in a life of crime or somebody's selling drugs and whatever. I personally don't judge anybody for any of that stuff, right?
That's the new road in you.
You said what? That's the
North Preston in you.
And it's just like, why would we even be doing something like that? But then on the flip side, speaking to a God, right, who spoke to everybody. He ain't just spoke to the people in the church. In fact, he went outside the church. That was his thing.
Yeah.
If we're following it biblically, right? He went outside the church. So why are we having so much focus be on gathering in this one place? We need to be out there talking to all kinds of different people from all different walks of life and experiences.
Yeah.
And to be coming together and saying, yo, I know you made this mistake. Let me hold you. Let me help to guide you in a way that's going to heal you, but also create community, trust, and bonding. So for me, like, that's why I be saying, like, church stuff. It's not that I don't accept those things in my upbringing at all. I'm very appreciative and grateful of it. I just don't agree with some of the logistic things that happen there. And I will speak on those until the day that I die, because what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
Because it's important, like, for us as people, like, I mean, we grew up in the church, we grew up Baptist and all that stuff. So the church is usually where we go for forgiveness, or the folks that are in the church. You know what I mean? If you're going to express yourself. And I feel like what you may be touching on is, if we do try to seek forgiveness, and not just from God, but from the community or from the people that we're around, if we open ourselves up and then we get rejected, that creates more trauma for us. And firstly, it doesn't heal what we're trying to find forgiveness for, and then it creates something else to where it goes back to not being able to trust the people, not being able to trust the community. Then they might talk about you amongst each other or whatever. Yeah. And what that does is you're not able to heal from it. So it's important to be around people that we trust in the congregation or whatever community we're in, so that we can be open and we can heal, and then we can move forward with whatever the traumas that we're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm out there around all kinds of different people. And I know sometimes people will see and they be like, oh, Keonté over there with, oh my God, and he's doing all this stuff. Yes, I am. Yeah. Sure am.
What you said earlier, standing on what?
Standing on business. Sure am out there. Why wouldn't I be, you know, and making mistakes myself. I ain't perfect. I've never claimed to be that, and I wouldn't ever claim to be that. People will put that on me, and I'm okay with that, because you're doing that for yourself.
Judgment. That's the judgment.
Right, and you can do that.
Yeah.
You can do that. That's right. But so yeah, I'm having conversations with all kinds of different people, and I actually value hearing their experiences. It actually helps me to grow, you know, and then I get to share mine too, right? So that's what it's about. It's community.
Yeah, and 100%. I feel like that's important too. I like that you mentioned that judgment piece, because like I feel like you shouldn't operate with judgment. You don't know someone else's circumstances. And the other thing as well is, I feel like something else just to point on, I feel like for myself and like my relationship to God, I focus on how I relate and connect with God. Like that's my priority, like within myself and with how I connect. Nothing else can really, you know, dictate how I feel like I relate to that and find that connection.
Oh, 100%.
Almost similar to what Keonté
Because someone might
was
say
saying.
like, oh, you girl, you don't go to church?
Yeah, you're not doing this and that. I'm like, no, my relationship with God has to do with how I speak to and connect with God. And
Period.
no one else should be able to
100%. It's like
dictate
it's a one-on-one relationship with God.
100%.
It's not like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
That's
if I
right.
feel like I'm doing something that I shouldn't be, I will get that feeling.
Yeah.
And until then, I'll
That's
get
right.
that guidance from God.
That's
So
right. And
I
people-
agree and relate to a lot of the stuff that
Because people use judgment to control you
and
too.
to shame you and stuff, which I do not agree with.
That's right. It's like, and then, oh my gosh, it's so foolish. Like people are like, oh, make sure you go to church. Make sure you go to church.
Mhm.
And like some of the folks who go to church every Sunday, like, are you really?
God forgive me.
And
I
trust me, like this ain't a conversation that we just having. This is a
Yeah.
conversed everybody be having because
Behind
it is-
closed doors,
it
too.
is-
They ain't
That's
even
right.
yeah.
That's right.
It is
Like,
the true combo.
but we need to have these conversations out loud, right?
Yeah.
That's how we foster change. That's how we change the things that are happening. We have to have the uncomfortable conversations, and I
100%.
don't think I've ever been one to shy away from any of that.
Mhm.
I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast
We
before,
haven't.
but I noticed in community wise with the young guys and the young people that's coming up, I feel like the church is being lost for that generation.
Yeah.
Like
Is it
for
ever?
my generation, like we went to Sunday school, we was in church, and like sometimes we were like, oh, I gotta go to church, but that's where we learn some of our crucial lessons. Some of the lessons in the Bible is crucial lessons, like the 10 Commandments and the certain stories. Is like these are the things that even allow you to succeed sometimes. When it's like David versus Goliath, it's like we're all Davids in our story, and we gotta conquer Goliath or kill Goliath or whatever, you know what I mean? And I feel like those stories for us is better than like the movies that we're watching where these people are killing all these different people,
That's
doing all
right.
this crazy stuff. And it's like that to me is pollution in terms of like, I understand too where the Bible in some forms is invented or used to control people, but it's still important to have these lessons of like love and compassion and journey and all these different things that can allow us to become the best versions of ourselves. So like God to me might be different from God to you, you know what I mean? The connection that we have or whatever we talk about or whatever we utilize to push us to be the best version of ourselves. Because
Yeah.
to me, that's how like, God, I ain't using you, but I'm using you.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna make me better.
Yeah.
Like all my friends that
Therefore.
passed or my family members that passed, they like you were saying, Lillian's with you. All my friends are with me.
Yeah.
When I'm here trying to make the best decisions in the world, they with me, helping me guide and make the best decision. And that helps me. Even if they ain't really there, they there in my mind. So they make me be better.
Yeah.
That's right. And it can't hurt you, right?
Yeah.
Can't hurt you. One thing you mentioned in there too is like about like the stories and stuff. I don't know how much more y'all want to be talking
No,
about
this is
this,
good. This is good
this type of a
content.
topic anyway and stuff.
Yeah.
But like the stories, like the David and Goliath and things, whether those things are true or not, beautiful stories, right? Of encouragement, of empowerment, and like to a T. Now, like when it comes to taking the good and the bad, because I feel like you have to do both. Like we can't say, oh, angels are real and then say that demons aren't. In the Bible, like those things, and I'm not a big Bible person, obviously I study all that stuff, and I'm just putting that out there. But when it comes to like, I feel like sometimes it's a lot of like smoke and mirrors, because in the Bible it talks about like a lot of these things. Like, yes, I can't even name people out by name, but let's just say like, yes, Moses parted the Red Sea, and you know he set the people free, but he also was, and I don't know if this is factual, I'm just example.
Yeah.
He also was a thief, right? Yes, Peter denied Jesus or whatever the case may be. Or, you know, did this, or he was his companion, I'll say, but he also denied Jesus 3 times, right? The point is that you can't have one without the other, like, and that is real life. The Bible looks like what it actually looks like here. Like, yes, we are doing great things, but there are imperfections that we have, right? And everybody has them. So how can you look at somebody else and say, what's going on? You had a baby at 16 years old. You're on your own,
A lot of
shawty.
folks want to condemn folks, and I feel like it's important, like what you touched on, is we all have the good and the bad in us. It's the battle that we all face, and it's what wins, is what creates our character in the world, who we want to become, and you know what I mean? Because some people, they identify with being badasses, and like that's on them. We can't save them. We can't. I can't jump inside no one's body and say, oh, I want to be a good person. They have to make that decision.
That's right.
We can encourage, or we can you know what I mean, use things to kind of lead them in the right direction, each other in the right direction, but there's nothing we could do. We can't remote control someone else.
Yeah. And we got to focus on like those things, right? Like the values and stuff, because focus on the values, the good things that we see from folks, and then help to heal the things that aren't great.
And that's what I try to use is positive reinforcement. So like when someone is doing good, I take that good and I encourage the good. When someone's doing bad, I try to ignore it. If it's something that I can maybe help them become better, then I'll address it. But if it's certain things, it's like ignore the negative and encourage the positive.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's right.
I learned that from reading a book about how to like I was reading a book about like my godson was growing up, and I just read a book about how to like encourage him to be better and stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that.
love it.
And it's
Yeah.
like positive reinforcement works. Negative reinforcement doesn't work. If you only yelling at your kid when the room's not clean and not encouraging them when the room is clean, then they're gonna just always do, you know what I mean? Not
Makes
do
a
the clean.
difference.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like that one was like, oh yeah, because you gotta big them up when they're doing the good things because we feel good about that. Like
Sure do.
think back to like a teacher that you guys may have had
Yeah.
that like encourage you for your marks or encourage you for your attendance or encourage you for something like in art class with Miss Brooks,
Miss King.
Miss Kane. That those things encourage us so much because like, oh my God, you did such a good job. Like, and when you know it's coming from a genuine place, then it inspires us.
Yeah,
true.
yeah. That's funny how you brought that up too, because Miss Tyne Simons, I made mention of her before, not here, but in general. She was my grade 5 teacher, and I ain't crediting her to the whole thing, right? But I am crediting her to being the person that said, you have a gift for writing and storytelling, communicating.
And what grade was this?
Grade 5.
See, like for you to remember that,
Yeah,
that's
it made an
impactful,
impact.
bro. Because I can't think of nothing that my teacher said to me in grade 5, but like that is important. Guess what I remember from grade 5? Sitting in the office because I was a badass kid.
I knew you were going to
and
say something.
looking at the wall, there was a thing on the wall every time I went in the office, and I would sit just like this, like a badass. Like they be saying, sit up straight, and I would just sit just like this. And on the wall it said, "Do unto others as you would have others do unto you," and it's the golden rule. And that's like seared in my brain because I was in the office so much, and it was right on the wall. Like I can see it
That's
right
crazy,
now.
huh?
And what that allows me to do is to treat people how I want to be treated. I mean, obviously, like you said, I'm imperfect, and I still treat people sometimes how I don't want to be treated. But that's part of life. You know what I mean? You gotta. Sometimes you don't recognize how you're treating people. Sometimes.
But sometimes people just get on your damn
That's
nerves.
the thing.
Sometimes people just get on your mother nerves too. Like it's just like, what were you thinking?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned like it's kind of going backtracking, but the good and bad and being able to like recognize that within someone. I think that is so important because I think that's even a way of stopping people to be judging of other people or to project their own things. Like when you actually sit and reflect on yourself and you're like, hey, like I am perfectly me. I'm gonna put that out there, but not perfect in the way that people will think that perfect is. It makes you like your outlook on life and other people and what they're doing so much more different and so much more appreciative of them for being human. So it's just something
The
I wanted to
humanness,
mention. at
like
point.
accepting folks, you know.
100%.
Yeah.
Before we get to like the one word checkout and stuff like that, I kind of want to ask the question to you of like your journey. I've known the early journey. I'm learning the new journey now. Where, if like, because you see the vision, like I see the vision and how you executed on it. If things could go the way you want them to go from now until like, well, how old are you right now?
I'm 27.
27. Because you some young man.
I'll be 28 in
A young
November.
man, a child. So if everything could go how you want to go until you're like 37, like 10 years, let's say 10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
I see myself having kids for sure. That is probably my ultimate goal in life. As far as we're talking career, or we're talking about career for the most part, right?
Career, life, everything. Because
Yeah.
I did see you on Twitter. You were with vacation. You were with a kid.
God.
And guess what I
Keonté
wanted to
broke your
ask
neck
him?
then.
I said who child that there? I said who child that there?
No, it might try. I one day. That's
one day.
my goddaughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keonté said-
I was like, gee, what's
No, I wouldn't
What
put
did you
on
see?
blast, trust me.
I was like, what do you see? No, if it's on Twitter, it's so
Yeah,
there.
it's
Everyone
out
would,
there.
you know what I'm saying? Everyone would see,
what they
but
call it, X now or something?
X, oh my,
Yeah.
I'm over it.
I don't know
I'm
why
over
they
it.
did that.
I'm over it. As far as like the plan, I guess I would see like the message being global. We're already moving in that direction. I would see the team, because one of my biggest goals too was to break, like, I love breaking like the statistics of things, especially when it comes to black men, black people. So like one of the statistics was usually black businesses stay sole proprietorships, and they have like one or two people or one or two employees or people working with the company. I'm like, nope, I ain't gonna be none of that. I want to have a corporation and there to be multiple people. I broke that a long time ago. I want to continue to do that. Continue like to break those statistics. So I want it to be a corporation with, you know, like It doesn't have to be huge, but like 50 people working in the company.
I love it. I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
and there to be a big message, like movement around the
Mhm.
world of it. Yeah, yeah, and self-love to be on the forefront of all of it, because that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
dope. So like you know we're gonna double back. I'm
Yeah.
gonna know you till you forever. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is like music and the creating of the books. Is it go hand in hand for you now?
Sure do.
Is it like part of like the corporation would be like you being a musician, production,
Yeah.
producing books and stuff like that?
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand already. Like when I'm on the tour, I perform like a mini set of like 15, 20 minutes for the kids at the end. It's usually their favorite part, of course. But yeah, like so they kind of merge, and we're doing other projects I'm not gonna necessarily mention right now.
Yeah. Is there anything that you
Like
can give
musical.
us? Is there anything you can give us that's in the works?
Keonté,
Well, you know, I
grab that blue lobster and keep going.
Well, you know, I
yeah.
just enjoy like
We got to
the
get him with
element
a
of
jag on.
surprise.
Then he'll start letting stuff out. Next time we got to do shots.
I mean, y'all could have one right now. Y'all could have had one
Okay,
right
we
now. I wish
you
you
know the
all
crazy
would have
thing?
had one.
I don't even drink. I never
Yeah.
had a buzz
Oh,
on.
at all?
I
Ever?
never had a buzz on since 2019. I mean, I used to
2019,
drink when I was
okay.
younger,
That's dope.
but
Yeah.
like my grandfather, he passed away because he was like alcoholism in the community. But it's more so for me, but it's also to inspire and show younger folks like, hey, you don't got to get drunk to have fun. Like you can
Yeah.
have fun sober. And you know, I show up to the party, I turn up just like the rest of them. But you
Yeah,
know,
period.
that's kind of like one of the things for me. But you know, I still turn up. You guys can drink, and I'll be here. We can party.
Well,
Put
listen.
water in the shot glass.
Well, listen. Like we just
Curve shots.
the other the other day we just closed off the tour. I've been touring since January, which is crazy. That's a lot. But since January, and like 2 days ago, closed off the tour in Ganesh, and so this is like it's a little celebratory thing for me, like especially because while I'm touring,
Yeah.
I don't drink anything.
Yeah.
So it's been the whole year of that, other than like vacation.
Relax,
Nothing
enjoy
goes
the
in.
summer where you got it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
100%. Take time to yourself and
Mm-hmm.
This is the time. Yep.
definitely.
For sure.
But yeah, just wanted to talk about like the tours and your experience doing that. I know the last time we chatted, I think you were just starting up to do the tours
Yeah.
for the book. So how's that been? What's the reception been like in community? I know you wanted to mention as well to talk about that. So yeah.
Yeah. The tour's been great. Nobody knows, like, but I've been building that up since 2021. And this is the first time we put a name on it, we're in 2024. And it's like the I Am Experience children's book tour. But since 2021, we've been building that. I've been on the tour. I call it like working the material. So while I'm there, like I'm somebody who like observes a lot. So while I'm there and I'm giving the presentation, I'm watching the kids, you know, getting their reaction in real time as I'm reading the books, as I'm doing other things that I'm not going to say. But as I'm doing these, because you got to be there.
He got the content. He got the content.
I love
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of taking notes and stuff like that. And so it's been building since 2021 of me just making mistakes and getting it wrong and that type of thing, and hearing the kids' feedback too, because they're so honest.
Keeping it 100 with you.
Brutally honest,
Yeah.
right? Which I love.
Yeah.
That's what I love about kids the most. But yeah, so like the tour has been good. I've been building it for like 3 years prior to this moment of just touring constantly, doing it and figuring it out, and to the point where now, honestly, every school we go to, is pretty much the same type of turnout and the same type of impact. Crazy.
So it's something like you make me think about a comedian when they do their bids and then they get the reaction. Then there's some jokes or some parts of the story that they leave out because it's not effective, and then you give the most effective parts, and then
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And you can see, like, in the kids too. Like, I mean, when you're there entertaining kids for a whole hour and you're able to keep their attention,
Yep.
that's not something that just happens over
Oh,
time.
bro.
Like,
you ever
gotta
take a
work
kid
that.
to a movie?
Oh,
Them movies be boring. Them
Yep.
kids be jumping up and down.
Yeah. But if you see like us doing the presentation, when I tell you they're there from A all the way to Z, and that's what the teacher said. How did you do that? It's just like it took time.
It's
It
an
took a
art.
lot of mistakes, all right, to figure that out. But they have a great time. Like
yeah.
they remember things. I get like a box from kids all the time throughout the year. I've been sending cards and stuff. I see them doing lesson plans, you know, from the book. They post
so
pictures.
dope.
I've seen projects the other day, and I guess like it was like 3 kids. They made a doll, like an actual doll of me with like history and facts and stuff on the back and stuff like that. So for me, it's like that's not like, oh, this happened and that's great and whatever. But obviously, I had to have some sort of an impact on them for them to even choose me to do these things. So yeah, that's all I'm here
I
for.
like that.
That's what I'm here for, so.
Before we go into the one word checkout, maybe let the audience know how they can reach you and how what you do for the tours. Like, so you know what I mean? So like give your, I don't know, calling card or explain just like a little quick, like an elevator pitch of what you do.
Yeah, so the tours I feel with live interactive. The tours are filled with live interactive and dynamic readings of all the children's books, but we also do music too. We talk a lot about self-love and a lot of chasing your dreams and how it started for me at 6 years old. You can do it too. I'm no more special than anybody else, and you can do it better than me. And we talk about that. We answer questions and things of that nature. Is called the I Am Children's Book Series, and it's the experience. So yeah, and you can find me at www.kebe.ca.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. And your socials.
Socials at Keonté Beals everywhere. Everywhere.
There you go.
Oh.
So yeah.
Explain the one word
Yeah,
checkout.
yeah.
Okay, I had that website memorized too. I was gonna say it, but yeah. So our one word checkout, like near the end of our team meetings every week, but also near the end of these episodes, you describe or you say one word. That's how you're feeling right now, how the episode made you feel, how this week has been for you, and you describe why you chose that word.
Really interesting. Wow, one word, eh?
Yeah. You can hyphenate it, but I tried to hyphenate it 3 times. One time.
She do it every time.
So is all of us doing this or just me?
Yeah, we all
Yeah,
do
all
it.
of
We
us.
all do it.
Okay, but I just go first.
I can go first. You can go first. She can go first.
Yeah.
Whoever.
No, I would say my word is content. There doesn't need to be an explanation or nothing, does it? Or
Oh
do
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
appreciate it?
We'd like it. We'd appreciate an explanation.
I would say my word is content, mainly because first of all, I feel like I appreciate y'all for even giving me the opportunity to share some of my experiences. And a lot of the things that I actually spoke about, I've never talked about before. So obviously you folks created a safe space for me to feel like I can do so, and for us to have a conversation from places of understanding. So yeah, I feel content about everything that I spoke on, that we spoke on.
That's real.
I'm grateful
I feel
for that.
honored to hear
I like that. I
Yeah,
like
we
that.
appreciate
Yeah,
having
we
you as
do.
well.
When we have impact on folks like that, that's like when you get them boxes from the kids. That's how we feel.
That's like
and
the
we be
doll.
talking about it together.
Yeah.
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 Like the doll with the back and like the
Yeah, bro.
significance on the back, like that, those type of things.
No, I'm
really mean
grateful
a
for
lot.
y'all.
Thank
Yeah,
you, brother.
we
For real.
appreciate
I
you.
mean
too.
that
Appreciate
too.
you, 100%, brother.
Wow, I can't think of a word right now.
Close your eyes.
Start singing.
Oh my God.
No, it would not sound like it.
I'm gonna wait till you get your word because I got my
Okay.
word. My word
Okay.
ready.
Mm.
Hopefully you don't take my word.
You got it?
That's the word.
You can say
Because
it
then
if
I
you
gotta
want.
go harder again.
What would be my word? Science for 500.
So
I
this
think-
is on you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I have so many different words that are coming to my head, but I think it's simple. It's 2 letters, but my word is me. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from this, and ironically, it's the name of like the series and the I Am Perfectly Me, but I just feel like this conversation just like reassured me to put myself first and to prioritize myself, to be able to give myself fully to the other experiences or the other commitments that I have, because sometimes I just need that little reminder, and that part really stuck to
Yeah.
me.
I love
I
that.
like that. Me.
Mhm.
That's tough.
I love it.
And content. And then my turn.
Did I take it?
No, you didn't. So my word is faithful. And that doesn't mean like being faithful to somebody, but it means faithful in having faith. Because when you talked about like having faith and everything worked out, I feel like that's a thing, a dichotomy or a tug of war that we all go through. And I feel like we just have to have faith. It's like, you guys ever hear the quote of leap and the net will appear?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I feel like that's what we all need to do. We need to trust and have faith so that we can move forward. And sometimes we got to let certain things go and have faith that things will work out. Because if not, then, you know what I mean? We ain't going to make it. If we ain't got no faith, like, where are you making it to? So faithful. It renewed my understanding of faith, and also it's the conversation and what you said is going to make me sit back in faith more.
Yeah, I love it.
Trust in the process.
Yeah.
Trust in the process. Trust in the process. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And with
that concludes the episode. Thank you so
done.
much, Keonté. But yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. And you guys know that to participate in our gift card giveaways, you have to like, comment, and follow. You also have to share as well. And you can comment as well some of the names of some people you'd like to see on the episodes.
100% like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube. Check us out. Give us a share. Like if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it on the podcast, give it a share. You know what I mean? It costs you nothing. It's free. Take a couple seconds and share it for us. You know, we just try to get out there. If you enjoyed this conversation and you appreciate it, if you got anything out of it, share it for someone else to get something out of it.
And feel free to participate in our one-word checkouts as well, wherever you're watching this from. I don't even know if you can comment on the podcast platforms, but on YouTube and on social media, feel free to comment your one-word checkout, why you chose that word. And yeah, just don't be secretive. Share our stuff, like show that you're watching. That just motivates us more to do this work so that we have an impact on you.
Yeah,
as
because
well.
let's say you're listening to it on podcast. Sometimes commenting is just sharing with someone else. You know what I mean? Letting someone else know. Like, hey, I listened to the podcast and XYZ. This is what I got from it. That's a real life comment. IRL. Let's get it.
See y'all next episode.
Peace.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to our Feature Friday podcast. And just wanted to make sure that you guys are connected on all platforms. So wherever you're tuning in, maybe even leave us a 5-star review.
If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe.
And on our social medias as well, you can follow us at ANS Lab or at African Nova Scotian Youth Lab as well on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the whole mumble jumble. It'll be in our link tree in our bio.
Don't forget to enter our contest that we have in each episode.
And the way to enter that contest will be sprinkled throughout our episodes, so make sure that you're listening and paying attention.
Each episode may be different, but comment below wherever you are.
And if you don't use social media and you're one of those people, you can even reach out to us by email at anslab@onenorthend.com.
The details are in the episode description.
And last but not least, we want to make sure that we get you guys connected to our resource, our network of resources, the Grapevine newsletters. So to get subscribed, you can check the link in our bio and subscribe yourself. But if you're not that tech savvy, you can also email us at anslab@onenorthend.com and we can get you hooked up.
We'll see you on the next episode.
See you next month.